A couple of months ago, I released a devastating video about Sunal Edamaraku, who put his own life on the line on live television as a shaman tried to kill him with his magic powers in front of millions. Here's what happened. Sunal survived the deadly encounter, and some people think my telling of that story is the greatest video to ever land on YouTube. Even more interesting than the time I said this.
He will fill the petrol tank up to the maximum because he knows that petrol makes a car go.
Absolutely, and if you want to hear more devastating knowledge bombs like that, then please hit the subscribe button. But for now, hang on for today's story, because here it comes. Yeah, shameless self-promotion there, a little bit of a blast from the past. And of course I said that at a time when we could all afford to actually buy petrol instead of having to siphon it out of our neighbours' cars in the middle of the night in secret. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is tell you a slightly funny story, followed by a not so funny story, but a real world example of why we have to ban this kind of tomfoolery in the real world. And what I'll do at some points as well is probably witter on about things that aren't relevant for far too long. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, let's meet today's hero.
ఆలోచించండి ఈ గ్లాసుకో ఆ నెయిల్ పాలిష్ డబ్బాకో మీరు ఇట్లా చేతులు ఊపితే ఏమన్నా అవుద్దండి.
This man is Babu Goganegi, and what he's just said there may or may not be relevant to today's story. I don't know, I didn't understand a word of it, but let me tell you what happened on the day he took down 2 live faith healers on national television. Babu is a rationalist and a human rights activist, and he regularly takes down people who claim to have special psychic powers, and today he's on live television talking to this man on the left who is a faith healer. Let's call him John. Joining them on the show is this lady here. Let's call her Jane. She is also a faith healer. Now, I'm aware that not everybody speaks fluent Indian, so what I'm going to do now is translate the next few fascinating moments for you. Here we go. Hi, my name's Jane, and I'm a magical faith healer. I get people to phone me up, and using my magical powers for money over distances of hundreds of miles, I heal whatever illness they've got. It's great. Hi, my name's John, and I'm also full of shit. I'm a faith healer too, and judging by this clip, I can also speak without opening my lips. Anyway, I make money by people phoning me up, and I use my magic powers also to cure them from hundreds of miles away, no matter what's wrong with them. Well, my name's Babu, and I'm going to call bullshit on both of you, and I'm going to prove it too by emptying my sack here. You said empty your sack. Yes, he did, and in his sack, he had a blood pressure monitor, and he let John have a go at it. Look how much John's enjoying himself. That is, of course, until he finds out that his blood pressure is a whopping 185 over 103, which is seriously high. That really takes a smile off his face. Look. Jane, why don't you use your magic powers to bring his blood pressure down? He's only 2 foot away from you. It should be easy. Hell no, I'm not having any part of this at all. Let him heal himself. Okay, John, you heard the lady. Now it's over to you. Prove to us all that you've got these spectacular magic powers and bring your own blood pressure down.
Oh, God. I guess I can't say no, can I?
And so it began.
Oh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I knew I should have stayed at home and watched Supermarket Sweep. I'm just going to wave my hand around for as long as I possibly can while I think of something. And, oh, that's nice. What's that down there?
Keep those hands where we can see them, John. So after what must have felt like an absolute eternity to John, it was now time for Babu to remeasure his blood pressure. And John had done it, kind of. He'd changed his blood pressure from a dangerously high 185 over 103 to an incredibly dangerously high 208 over 108. And I think at that point, Babu decided he had to stop the trial before John's head literally exploded. The story went absolutely viral in India, and the 2 healers were made an absolute laughingstock of. So well done, Babu, for bringing down 2 con artists. This is for you. Now we're going to get onto the serious bit, and for that, you're going to need to watch this clip.
ఆ మాట కెమెరాలో చూసి చెప్పండి నేను చెప్పే అన్ని తప్పు అని.
అయ్యా నా పేరు వేణుస్వామి, నేను జ్యోతిష్యం చెప్పే అన్ని తప్పులు. సో నన్ను నమ్మే వాళ్ళు నమ్మండి, నమ్మని వాళ్ళు నమ్మకండి. ఇంకొక ముఖ్యమైన విషయం ఏంటంటే ఈ డిబేట్ లో 100కి 99% బాబు గోగినేని గాని నమ్మండి, నన్ను నమ్మకండి.
వెరీ గుడ్ అండి. I'm very happy.
Now I know what you're thinking. It's powerful stuff. That clip really speaks for itself. You certainly don't need me to explain that to you. But just to be clear, this is Babu Goginini forcing a confession from astrologer Vinu Swami. Now, Vinu Swami here in this clip, I believe, is telling everybody not to listen to him anymore because he literally doesn't make any successful predictions. Babi forced his confession by confronting Vinu live on TV with a series of lies that Vinu had told. For example, Vinu had told everybody that he was friends with the Indian Prime Minister and had his backing, and he produced this photograph here as evidence. But on live TV, Babu showed the nation how this picture was actually a fake, before showing this official government document here denying that any such meeting had ever taken place. Another victory for Babu, but Babu doesn't always win, and I did promise at the start of the video that we would end this video looking at something a little bit more serious. And I also promised at the start of the video that I would end up wittering on about something irrelevant, probably for far too long. So welcome to that bit. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest comment on YouTube that I've received this week. Yes, they do say that geniuses are often very misunderstood, in which case Peter Jones must be the greatest mind of all time, because I literally can't understand a single thing he's trying to say to me here. Maybe Peter fell asleep and face planted the keyboard and this was the result. I don't know, but if he did, what are the chances that his face would miss every single bit of punctuation, apart from the full stop, which is put right at the end of this comment? And I do have to say that putting a full stop at the end of this grammatically illiterate mess is a little bit like sprinkling hundreds and thousands on top of a dog turd. I do appreciate the effort, but the futility really is there for us all to see. Anyway, every cloud has a silver lining, and the silver lining here is that I get to try and read this punctuationless piece of garbage in the way that it was probably intended, in a single breath. Can I do it? Who knows? Here we go.
No wonder you use a cat as your face. Having seen your face, I can see why you hide it, not for the shame of the ugliness, but for the sheer punchability of it, which isn't helped by your lack of science. Instead, you do scientism and say the earth is flat, but we know entropy will always happen with gas in a container with no lid, but you ignore basic physics and lied to your audience. Need to be shown what time it is, don't you? Full stop! Nailed it. One take. That's what I'm all about.
Anyway, now that's out the way, the serious bit. Now, I will apologise in advance for any mispronunciations I'm going to make going forward in the rest of the video, but please meet Sambhavi, the girl goddess, and to understand her story and why it meant that Babu lost, I'm going to need to give you a very quick history lesson. Buddhism has three major divisions, one of them called Vajrayana, which itself is split into four further factions, and the Dalai Lama is head of one of these four, called the Gelugpa sect. This sect firmly believe in magic and reincarnation, and they identify babies as reincarnated lamas from the past, and they take them from their families and prevent them from leading a normal life. Ozel Taurus was one of these babies, taken away from his family and denied a proper childhood, denied access to education, and was kept in a shrine where people would go and worship him. As a baby and a child, he was allowed no affection from anybody at all. At 9 years old, he wrote a letter to his mother pleading to be able to go home and just live a normal life, a request that was denied. And it wasn't until he was 18 years old and felt that he could now stand on his own 2 feet that he left the monastery, never to return. In 2009, the Dalai Lama identified the then 6-year-old Sambhavi as being the reincarnation of another dead monk. Sambhavi's origins were a complete mystery. We were told that her parents were dead, and she had a guardian called Usha Rani, who claimed that Sambhavi had displayed incredible magic powers, including the ability to predict the future and telepathy. But it would later transpire that Usha actually was Sambhavi's mother, and the backstory of being a guardian and the parents being dead were all there to add mystery and wonder to Sambhavi's legacy as being a girl goddess. A temple or ashram was built for Sambhavi in a place called Surya Nandi, and from that temple it was claimed that Sambhavi would have telepathic conversations with the Dalai Lama himself. As is the case with all reincarnated lamas, Sambhavi didn't get to lead a normal childhood. She was denied education, she was denied friends her own age, and she was denied normal social interactions that we all rely on for our proper cognitive development. In addition, she was made to believe in the delusion that she herself had special supernatural powers. Babu was absolutely horrified by the life that this girl was being forced into, and he was equally as angered about the economic profiteering that he saw arising around the ashram in Surya Nandi. Not only was this girl denied a proper childhood, but the people around her were raking in vast amounts of money on the back of it. Along with others, Babu played a significant role in petitioning the Human Rights Commission and got this case brought before a judge. The judge stated that Sambhavi's mother had the religious freedom to practice whatever religion she wanted, but she did not have the right to force delusions upon her child or deny her an education. In fact, he pointed out the 2009 Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act, which states that neither parent or child can make the decision to reject the education system. The result was a victory for Babu and his colleagues, but it does appear that there was just far too much money being made for Sambhavi's mother and the people around her to want to comply. Sambhavi and her mother went missing for 6 years until she was no longer of an age where the Compulsory Education Act applied to her. And when she returned like this. Yes, it appears that any ounce of gratitude that she would have had for what Babu was trying to do for her was brainwashed out of her, as she came back publicly attacking Babu for exposing Vinu Swami as a fake with this photograph. Apparently his actions were being very anti-religious, and he was severely warned. In fact, just like Sanal Edamaruku from the previous video, Babu was also the victim of several death threats, only in this case it was from groups defending the practice of snatching children from their parents and raising them like they're not children. Still, the court case did give significant publicity to this horrible tradition, and it did expose the profiteering that surrounds it. And since then, the Dalai Lama, who, let's remember, identified the girl as being one of his reincarnated friends, seems to have gone incredibly quiet on the subject and has distanced himself from her altogether. Babu, you can't win them all, but you are, of course, an absolute legend for trying. Now, if you're new to the channel and you've made it this far into the video, I don't know how you've done it, but well done. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you are one of the channel's patrons or members, can I please tell you how much I love you? And if I ever found you locked away in an ashram somewhere, I would at least bring you a McDonald's to cheer you up. How about that? Meow.